I never shared this before. 2 weeks ago, the devil tried to kill me. I'm telling you the truth. 2 weeks ago, he tried to literally take me out of this world. I almost passed on to eternity. I had a problem I was going through, and I just went to the emergency room to try to find out what's going on. And they came up with 8 different things that it could be, involving some kind of viral infection. And all of these things later, when they got the results back, were negative. So they were treating me on something they assumed was wrong. And all I could tell you is that whatever they were pumping me with, antibiotics, I didn't realize it, but a nurse comes to me and says, you're allergic to a drug called Ceftin on your chart, and this drug they're giving you could be a sister to Ceftin. Well, all I could tell you is I just started feeling these palpitations in my heart, just like I did in the 1980s when I had Ceftin. I got shortness of breath. I would try to get up. I could hardly walk. And this was on a Tuesday. And I had to go to work Thursday because we were shooting It's Supernatural TV shows and I was directing them. But I became so violently ill. I mean, I didn't know what was going on. It was obviously I was allergic to the drug, and I started telling the doctors, the nurses. They didn't do anything. They just kept giving it to me. And on Wednesday, the next day, I was questioning the doctors, and I said, have you talked to my internist who's dealing with me with this issue with cancer that God is healing me of and all? They wouldn't answer me. I had my wife call the doctor's office, and they never consulted with my main doctor. And so I just started just praying to God, and I didn't know what to do. And all of a sudden I heard an audible voice. I'm telling you, it was so loud. Get out of the hospital now. So I'm telling you, I said that. All I could tell you is I told the hospital nurses that I'm leaving. I got to get out of this hospital. Whatever you're giving me, it's killing me. And the doctors threatened me with saying this would be without medical advice. Well, that night, Wednesday night, I got home at 11 p.m. I woke up 6 a.m. in the morning, Thursday, April 7th, and I went back to work at It's Supernatural. I never felt as bad as I felt. I was so shaky. I was so weak. I asked people, numbers of people, to pray over me, to help me in some way to get through this day. Well, miraculously, God allowed me to direct the shows and get them done. But by the time it was over, I just had to go home. And I was just so depleted. And I know that if I would have stayed in the hospital, that the enemy would have taken me down. And I started, why, God? Why is it that the enemy so wanted to get me out of the way? And then I realized 2 weeks later, this week, my show with Sid Roth is on, where I'm sharing some very important things. And I realized the enemy didn't want me to share those things. You imagine what it would have been like? I would have been on with Sid all this week long as his guest, and then there would be an announcement that Warren, his memorial service is this week, and all of a sudden, all of the things I said in the show about not putting up with what the devil is trying to do to you and your loved ones, it would be all for nothing. It would be, there's Warren, he died. It must have been a bad teaching. But the truth of the matter is, I know how powerful this teaching is. And I just want you to watch the show, and I want you to hear what I'm saying in this show. But I want to tell you the 2 things, just 2 little things in the resource that's being made available that needs to get into your life. It changed my life. It's something that's real. Number 1, do you know that God fashioned you when you were born again to be the temple of the living Holy Spirit, to be God's temple on earth where he wants to reside? Now that's a very nice little thing to know. We say, well, I'm God's temple. But are we? Do you know that the tabernacle in the wilderness that Moses constructed was done exactly to the pattern God told him to make it? All the pieces of furniture, the brazen altar, the golden laver, the altar of incense, the Ark of the Covenant, all those things were told by Moses exactly how to build them. Why? Because it was going to be God's temporary housing on earth where he would reside. Well, he fashioned our bodies to be his dwelling place. The key is this: until the Shekinah glory of God came into the Holy of Holies of the tabernacle and later the temple, that tabernacle was nothing but, it was made and fashioned to be a place for God, but it didn't have the power, the authority, and the presence of God residing in it. So too, our temples, our bodies, we need to be able to do what the priest did. We need to cleanse our temples. We need to cleanse every part of our being. Every member of our being needs to be cleansed. And this is a prayer that God gave me of how to cleanse my mind and make it the mind of Messiah, to have God use my mouth to speak forth his words, to use my hands in a powerful way. This prayer just flowed from heaven for me. And this is what I was sharing on Sid's show, is how you daily can position yourself to cleanse your temple so that God comes with his power. Each day you need to pray in, more of you, Lord, less of me. This is just one of the things that the enemy didn't want to get out to you. The other thing is that we are also appointed by God when we were born again to become new covenant royal priests. What does that mean? The priesthood of all believers. Do you know what it is? When you start understanding how to function as a priest, there's nothing the enemy could throw at you that you can't come against, because you have access into the Holy of Holies. You go into the very presence of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and you make your requests known, and he hears your prayers and answers them. So I just want to tell you, you need to press on the link, watch the show, and I'm telling you, the enemy did not want you to get this resource that's being offered called Pressing into the Holy of Holies. I'm telling you, this is something you need in your life. I needed it in my life. And I want to tell you something, if you're going through things, if you're going through, your family's going through things, you do not have to put up with it anymore. Now watch that show and get the resource tool, Pressing into the Holy of Holies. I'm telling you, your life will never be the same again.